do it, man.
Okay, well,
Let's do it.
call this meeting to order. Stand and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Put a sign up, nobody can come here.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
Huh. Everybody's busy today.
I'm honoring Gary, but not that honor.
Okay.
That door was
Hey, Joe.
unlocked.
Thank you.
We just have to leave it shut, so this door behind you guys has to remain shut. It's unlocked, but we had a request to keep that door shut back there.
So we have the minutes.
So nobody can come in, I think
Okay,
it's
so
so
cord safety thing, we know we're not work, but we'll just, we won't find out
So we I'm going out.
Yeah, you go in and out, it's unlocked, you just stay one.
All right, here. So we have the minutes to approve. I did see something on page 3, Marcus. It's more of a, just a correction, I believe.
Okay,
It was the part where it says Skylar Prelwitz reported that Tina Weber contracted him, and I'm guessing it's.
oh, contact, okay,
And
I'll change
just
it.
a spelling thing, as I just
I'll
caught.
change it.
All right, other than that, I didn't see anything. Anybody else got any
No?
additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Weichel to approve the minutes with the small typing correction. Is there a second to that motion?
One second.
Seconded by Commissioner Culver. Is there any more discussion on the minutes? Not hearing any. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Also, we have the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions? Anything of that nature? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
The only thing I had was, I don't know, with Kevin Evenson out there.
Oh,
That
okay,
lady asked me a few times, if they're gonna do something or what,
okay.
and I don't know what the,
That can be old business.
Yep, we could probably just squeeze that into old business rather than put it on the agenda. Okay. Anybody else have any additions to the agenda? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Everly to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Weichel. Any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Now on old business. You wanna start with that or just wanna ask Joe?
One more last, Joe. Is there anything happened on the Kevin Evenson thing?
You know, I haven't talked to Trash Incorporated since last time you guys asked about it. Just kind of, I guess I was waiting for him to be ready for it. But if you wanted me to try to find somebody else, or
Well, I think we should try to get that cleaned up before winter, I would think.
you could use county guys too, if you wanted. I mean, we have an order from the court to clean it up, so.
So we're basically just waiting to get someone to clean it up.
Right.
That's the process we're at. I'd say we should probably just contact Trash Incorporated again and see if they can give us a timeline like the next 2 weeks or something. If they can't, then maybe we should seek someone else. So, not that we all of a sudden go into winter and then Emmons till late in the spring.
Yeah,
If he could come in like the next 2 weeks or so. If he's willing to work with that, I'd say stick with him since he's local, but if not, then, yeah, I'll have to find somebody else.
okay.
And then, I guess one other thing with old and unfinished business, so these maps that Josh handed out, these are the maps. This is the shape file that they gave Josh, which he put to like a section township and range map. And he also put it towards like a streets and kind of zoomed in mostly on basically just the Emmons County part. So, I guess just a little bit of an update. The only things that I've heard is that they have filed a permit with the PSC. It could take months before they get hearing, but it sounds like they've submitted a permit there, and to my knowledge, they haven't submitted a permit to any county, at least in North Dakota that I know of, so they're basically skipping ahead and going to the state first, which unlike DAPL and NextEra and all the other projects we've dealt with, they always came to us first, so I don't really know what to make of it, I don't know, you know, it just, but I don't like the fact that they skipped over us and went right to the PSC. That's not very, I don't think it's very forthright when you're trying to deal with local people and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, you're just gonna go seek a permit above us. I don't really think that's right. On top of that, it sounds like they're basically, from what I've seen, they've sued several counties in South Dakota. So basically anybody that's made any kind of a stand against them, they're suing, so, I don't know what's gonna come of that either, but, I'm assuming since they have a PSC permit, then they probably
Can
want.
the PSC require that they go back and first get
They
their,
could, I suppose, after,
permits from the counties or whatever before they come to them?
yeah, I don't know, and that could be a part of their process right now, maybe that's why, you know, it could take months, cause now they're digging into the permit, and maybe they're gonna find that there are no local permits, and they might not like that, which historically, I mean, like I said, with the other hearings we had here, they always kinda told me that they like the local stuff tied up before they deal with their stuff, so I'm pretty surprised to see that they went this far already, but, so I have no clue, you know, the PSC could just basically deny it until they get their county permits, I don't know, so. But anyway, that's kinda just the update I've gotten, other than the fact that they are engaging in legal activity with, counties in South Dakota and maybe even in Iowa, I can't remember when I read that article, but it sounds like, they're moving forward. The only other thing I also do know is they need that common carrier status to be granted eminent domain. According to the law, the way that I've read it in the Century Code and the way other people have looked at it, there's really no process to be declared a common carrier. Basically what happens is that filing they made in June to the PSC, and they cited the Century Code that states being a common carrier. If you basically file that brief with that Century Code and say you agree that you belong to that, you basically become a common carrier. There's no like,
Really?
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on it, or if someone finds it out, but from what I'm being told, basically you just say, yes, we're a common carrier, and you become a common carrier. I would assume a judge would have to challenge it in court probably, but there's no like PSC hearing where they decide if they're a common carrier, that doesn't exist.
What then?
So basically, they've become a common carrier by announcing that they're a common carrier, which now allows them to seek eminent domain if they choose, so.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I've been educated on in the last couple of weeks, and, so that's what's happening with Summit that I know of, and I don't believe they're gonna be here today or anything, so now that they filed their permits, we probably won't see them for a while, I'm guessing, so. Anyway, that's the old business on the Summit pipeline that I know of. Anybody else have any old business?
Did we ever hear a ruling on that fence thing from Frank?
No, that Attorney General's opinion will probably take a while too, I'm assuming, so that's gonna be. Did you actually submit that, Joe?
No, I haven't, I wanted you to review it.
Okay, so yeah, we haven't even submitted it yet, so that'll take a bit. Other than that, nobody else has any unfinished business or old business, we will move on to the hearing for objections to minimum sale price for delinquent tax properties with the city.
I apologize, I might have some old business. I was reviewing my notes this morning. I did see that, did we table that plat, last month that was less than an acre, is that what we did?
Oh, the one for Larry, was that Larry Heather, or do we have that?
Yeah, we tabled that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about that later, or do you want to?
Well, we can talk about it now.
I got a call from the title company, they're just gonna do a deed with a meets and bounds description. And if that gets done, then they won't need a plat. So they can split that lot with the meets and bounds description. And, you know, when it gets recorded, the only thing we can deny is if they get a building permit later on. You know, then we can base it on that, but.
Well, I just, I know I got a call from Larry, and, he wasn't very happy about it, but like I explained to him before, is at some point, we have to try and curb this kind of this Wild West scenario that's happening out by the river, where these lots are getting split up and they're in weird shapes, and then 3 owners later, somebody wants to develop it, you know, the other neighbors didn't care because they were relatives, they just wanted to park a camper there, so it's all fine and dandy, and then they sell it to someone from a state away that wants to build a structure on it, have a legal sewer and all this, and they can't, so that's where I think in my mind, you know, we'd have to try and stick to the ordinance. Now, if they wanna file a deed and they wanna go forth with that and sell that property that way, fine, but I think I would agree to you then, like, our ordinance book basically would state that you wouldn't grant a building permit for that property, so that,
Down the road.
I mean, the only fair thing, which I don't know if you could do, would be to almost stamp that deed or something, like saying like, hey, like, this is not in compliance with the, you know,
Ordinances.
Whatever.
right, however you state it, so that way
Yeah.
at least somebody knows down the road, you're buying this .48
Right.
acre lot, and now all of a sudden you can't, I mean, cause I can just tell you as a sewer contractor, it'd be almost impossible on less than 3/4 of an acre for sure, less than an acre is extremely difficult, unless you put a 1-room shack on it, but if you put anything with some square footage, you just lose all the setback requirements for those things, and then what you do is you condone illegal sewers then, cause they're gonna wanna build, you know, so they're gonna just go and do what they want some weekend and hope you don't get caught, so that's where you start having a snowball effect, so. I would say, so would the proper way to do it would be to deny the plat, I suppose, and then they would just seek their own, or are they even pulling the plat then, if they're gonna do a meets and bounds then?
Never
Well,
really said, he just told me they were gonna go through with the deed, so
Okay,
that means they,
So they're gonna sell it for the, I mean, they're just gonna sell that little piece.
well, I don't know if he was necessarily selling it, but he just wanted to split it off.
he's selling it, yeah.
Is he selling it? Okay, well then that, I mean, obviously that's the reason for doing it, but I never heard him actually say that, but. I mean, I think to stay consistent and to follow our ordinance book, I'd say the proper thing to do, I don't know if it's tabled, do we really have to do anything?
well, I guess, I mean, is it, probably should act on it eventually and just deny it if you don't want to prove it.
Well,
I would say deny it, and
I would say if we wanna stick to
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
ordinance book, which hasn't been done in the past, and we wanna start doing it that way, then yeah, I'd say we'd have to deny the splitting of that lot in that plat.
Yeah.
If they wanna proceed another way, but I mean, more power to them, I don't have any problem with it, other than that it's against the ordinances, if they wanna go forward and try it that way, then they're basically doing it at their own risk, so.
Yeah, the minimum lot size pretty clearly states that it's too small to comply with our ordinance, so.
If we're gonna grant a permit like that, then you might as well take that ordinance book and just throw it in the garbage, I mean, if you're not gonna follow it, I mean, and we already know the downsides of not following it, we've seen it out there, so.
well, I mean, it's not that he can't sell, it's just that they couldn't be used for a lot.
Right, but you know, I mean, just, I agree with you on that, but the whole point of purchasing a lot generally is just to build on it, you know, but, I mean, yeah, you
You're not gonna
could,
purchase a lot.
you could utilize it just to set a lawn chair on it and drink beer on it if you want, but yeah, I mean, most people are gonna be disappointed if they find out that they, you know, unless you're just gonna put a storage container on and park a 4-wheeler in it,
Yeah.
that's one of them deals, but yeah, so, I guess with that being said, since we're kind of in agreement of it, I do agree with Joe, we should probably just act on it, I guess I would entertain a motion to approve, table again, or deny that plat.
So I'll make a motion to deny it.
Okay, Commissioner Everly makes a motion to deny that plat. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Weichel.
But it also should be, like you said, maybe flagged or something somehow.
Well, I don't know what, if you can do that, or I don't know, it should be, there should be maybe a note put in there, something, just kind of cause, like I said, I'm not a fan of denying plats and things like that, I like people being able to do what they wanna do, but there has to be a certain amount of regulation out there, which we've already ran into recently, that no regulation out there is a bad thing too, whether it's the storage containers, God knows what, so I think it would be a good idea to maybe include some kind of a note or something with that.
I mean, we can give them notice that it's been denied and why it's been denied, that doesn't comply with the minimum lot size. I don't think that we have the right to do anything to their deed necessarily.
I don't think it's necessarily like to do something to the deed, I just kinda feel like that's kind of a bit of, you know, cause it's probably not gonna have anything happen to it for years, and then they're gonna come in, there's gonna be a group of people coming in here 5 years from now wondering why we're not granting their building permit, and then you're gonna have to explain this, and there might not be one commissioner here in that group, or one, you know, and then they'll be like, oh, what was their reasoning? Well, it'd be nice if you just kind of almost included like some kind of summary as to the reasoning why this thing is what it is, at least, I don't know. And like I said, not flag it, not penalize it or anything, but just something other than just in the minutes buried in history where somebody's gonna
So we
dig.
know down the road if it comes out about.
Right, I just, if some kind of, even just a copy of the minutes included into it, something just kind of highlighted to say why it is that we did what we did, because I think that would only be fair to the next purchaser or anybody as to the fact that they're gonna probably run into trouble developing that lot since of the size, so. I don't know, just kind of something to, guess we don't have to do anything either, we're not under any obligation, but it's just kind of a friendly thing to do. Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion on the subject? Not hearing any. All those in favor denying the plat, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Plat denied. I guess we do have a video recording. You can mark the date and stuff, or I don't know, it just seems like that's the tough part doing it, but it's gotta be done. Is Craig coming in? Or,
We can do the hearings for the objections.
oh yeah, we haven't done that.
Yeah.
We were still on the old business.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, the hearing.
Well, you know, the cities can come to object
Yeah.
or comment on what you guys said for the tax delinquent minimum bids at last month's
Uh-huh.
meeting. Legally, we have to have this hearing.
Sure.
Nobody ever comes, and they really don't object to it, so, but law says we have to have it.
I think what we'll do is we will open up the hearing,
Mhm.
so it is open, and we'll probably just continue with some business. If someone comes in, we will pause and go on with the hearing, because there's no one here to object. So
Right.
That's correct.
That'd be good. Yeah.
is that fair with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Marlis, can we do the superintendent of schools?
Yes, have you guys had anybody?
So, what are we paying on what, what is it, 200 or 300 a month?
That was 200.
Must've been about 200
200
Marlis.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like, I know there isn't a lot involved, but what is there involved? We just don't seem to, do we up the price or what, or, I mean, we advertised, didn't we?
No, we never advertised.
We haven't advertised.
No.
Well, see, it's an appointed position, so I think we're
Yeah.
all just kind of seeking our own.
Gary,
We
do
said
you know-
that,
do you know Joyce Jones? I don't know what the last name is now. Acacia talked to her last week. She was driving on her way to somewhere. She said she might be interested.
so one clarification though, Marlis, like, you don't need to have an active teaching license, right?
You don't need to have a teaching license.
Because that was one hiccup we always had before, we were always asking like old school teachers who still have an active license, because I
Right.
thought you had to, but you don't.
All you have to do is just appoint a designee. And then this, because Bacher School, the way DPI told me is because Bacher School doesn't have a superintendent. The superintendent school should go to their monthly board meetings.
Okay,
And then if there's a dissolution or an annexation, then they would have to.
right.
There isn't any reports or anything they have to file to DPI. Like the school budget information, I do all those reports. They file the schools file their financial statements with the county superintendent schools. Those just get filed right in, just right here in the courthouse, nothing needs to be done there. It's just if there's an annexation or dissolution, it takes some.
They don't have to attend every board meeting of every school then?
No, just the Bacher, because there's no superintendent of schools.
Boy, not a hell of a lot to
And the
it.
bus training and the spelling bee stuff all gets handled
Right.
individually by the
Right,
schools now.
there was a
right?
resolution done years and years ago.
So the main reason for a superintendent of schools is Bacher School and
Annexations.
annexations.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's really not a whole lot to do.
When Balker closes.
When Bacher closes.
Right, and Bacher's probably not long.
Then would you, yeah, less, yeah.
Really a lot of work.
Well, because I know the only people that I asked were basically people that have an education background, and they were all still working, and they just weren't interested, so. But appointing a designee who doesn't have like a
Right.
teaching license or something, I mean, then that kind of opens the field where you just find anybody that you think is just,
I know, I have
Reasonable.
5, 6 people and
Nobody's looking for another job on
Do we
it.
have a timeline when we should have this filled? I mean, I know it should be, but.
Well, you know, we were fine until we got this annexation.
Yeah. There's currently someone seeking an annexation, so now we kinda have to put the process in hyperdrive a little bit, so.
I guess I would suggest that we probably, now that we know it doesn't have to have the teaching background, do a little more searching in the next month or so.
I would say that would
Yeah.
be, you know,
Try and
that's,
ask more people, because
Right.
I was like you, I was thinking that to have that teaching background.
I thought in the sender
Yeah.
code it said that, but like Marcy said, is you're not really appointing, you're appointing like a designee, which basically, I think that obviously the state's probably made some changes, cause they're all having difficulty
Yeah.
finding someone with a teaching license that wants to be the superintendent of schools while they're employed at a school that they could be involved in
Right.
annexation with, I mean, there's
Right.
conflicts of interest, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's why they've probably stepped away from that, so.
Yeah, I would suggest we just take the next month or two and just keep asking around.
Well, that would probably be the best case.
Yeah, see if we can
Is
find
there any
someone.
kind of deadline on that annexation, or any kind of?
No, do you remember the superintendent of schools, or the superintendent of Houston schools, Dick Brown? Or
Brand Dick?
Grant Dick, okay.
Yeah,
He's the one that, he's working for the he's a superintendent of schools for someplace in Burley County.
okay,
And so he's involved in this annexation.
okay,
And so, I've been communicating back and forth with him, and I basically told him that I wouldn't let Emmons County sit dry. I would step up and try to help where I can with this annexation. So he's gonna work with me, and I'm gonna work with him, and there's gonna be some, meeting held sometime in December. I asked if he could wait till after the election, and then I could help him.
okay.
So sometime in December, we'll have our first meeting. We already have a county committee here in Emmons County. It consists of Joanne Human and Lance Weiser, Bernice Keller.
Kurt Wise,
Kurt Weiser,
Yeah.
right. Steve Nusma,
horribly over it?
Corbin Olden.
Yeah.
So I'll get in contact with all of them, and we'll have to go to the meeting in Burley County in December. And then you have to have hearings, and so somebody has to help with Emmons County, because he can't do that for Emmons County, so I'll try to do what I can, you know, but we're gonna have
Well,
to.
Janelle probably, I mean,
I don't think she would.
she would help out, get a little bit.
I could call her, but I don't.
Because the first meeting in December would be December sixth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Is it after December
and
sixth?
he wants to have one in the middle of December sometime.
Well, that would give you, basically, that would give the commissioners a month to find somebody,
Mhm.
I'd say the goal would be
Yeah, just start.
either one of us find one person, or if somebody finds one, I guess,
Let us,
somebody
let
finds one,
everybody
yeah,
know.
call everybody and be like, hey, what do you think? Because I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
I mean, other than a convicted felon or something, obviously, but I mean, if someone's gonna take it, I mean, you
You
kinda
can
have
get
to.
a hold of Joyce, and
Yeah.
Keisha talked to her last week, and she said, I might be interested.
Well, if you have someone that's even interested, I'd say that'd be a good contact,
I think
just,
she could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it.
okay.
Okay. Very good.
Craig?
Good morning, everybody. How's
You're
everyone doing today?
Good.
Okay, so obviously the reason why I'm here is that going through and getting estimates put together for some of the ARPA funding for doing some improvements around the courthouse. And so kind of my little clip notes I've got put together here is, you know, first and foremost, one of the big things is no matter what project we end up doing around here, we're pretty much going to have to get approval by the State Historical Society on anything that we do with this money. So that's just first and foremost. But going down the line, the next thing I got for you is, sitting in front of you would be the Northern Plains quote for updating some of the hot water lines that are galvanized and getting those replaced over to copper. And so, quote we got for that one from them guys is $8,450. The big thing on that one is, I have worked with Northern Plains before, familiar with them guys out of Bismarck, and they do a very good job. And so, these guys are definitely number one on my list for getting this work done.
When you're talking those hot water lines, are you talking like 1.5 inch copper?
I think there's one that's 1.5 inches and one that's 1 inch, or it's 3/4, something like that, somewhere around there. And the main run from it literally is going from where the boiler room is at, there's where the copper line got stopped to that point, and then it's going from there, and it runs straight over to the men's bathroom, and then pretty much runs the length of the building over to the women's bathroom.
And a lot of that's still the old galvanized piping?
Yep.
Yeah.
How about the bathroom upstairs?
That one coming upstairs is actually copper, 'cause that's where the galvanized run ends, just right above the women's bathroom
So
downstairs.
it's just those two down there.
Yes.
Kitchen.
Kitchen has copper running over to it. Or there's one short run that is going over to the kitchen, but that would also be included with this part too. Kind of the main reason why I bring this up is I know when I get to where my slop sink is at over here, right next to the men's bathroom, just on the other side of the door over here, I have to let that run for about a minute and a half to get the rust to come out of that line.
To
So
get
that's-
the rest?
Yeah, I mean, it almost looks like coffee coming out. So that's why I kinda have this one a little bit higher priority on some of the list for things to be done, cause that's just, to me, that's not acceptable.
So the State Historical Society has to come down and check that out too?
No, actually, I had sat down with Mary Singer and she kinda gave me a nice way of going about how to produce documents and that kind of stuff for the State Historical Society to email off to them, so I got a good list on how to go about that process from her and what steps to do in that process for taking care of that, so that should be a pretty easy task, and how she's gonna show me how to go about doing that stuff. Then next one I have on the list of projects here would be the prairie heating job, and that would be for the putting in air conditioning into the auditorium, and then I would also be doing a forced heat air in there as well, so that would be capping off where the restroom heaters are at downstairs, because when you have your winter meetings that are downstairs in that auditorium, it is very typical to hear what's going on in there. I mean, when they kick in, you really can't hear what anybody's talking about, so it's not just the AC, it would also be doing forced air heat in the auditorium as well. And so that kinda actually will help out with the efficiency of moving some of the air around in the auditorium.
Is that forced air sealing?
Yes, so that'll be a ceiling mount then, cause the one quote I have gotten so far has been from Prairie Heating for that $59,344.71 for the unit itself and the installation by them. I still need a quote from electricians to run the electrical wiring up to them guys as well. And then, I just actually had Capital City down here yesterday to go through and get to do the estimates on this project and a couple other things for lowering that roof in the auditorium, so this way we can get that unit properly mounted and tucked behind the false ceiling that's downstairs in the auditorium. And then the other big one I need after that one too is I need to have a structural engineer sign off on mounting the AC unit to the roof itself. So there's still a couple more costs that'll be involved with this process yet too.
So are you looking for approval of any of this stuff today, or?
Preferably, yes, if possible, because I know the one thing for sure that I do have completed is the Northern Plains one. That's the one I do have for sure. That there is, and then the other one I've got here too, after the AC and forced air in the auditorium would be the fire alarm system. Now, I had gotten hold of Apex Engineering about that one. They have a estimated cost for equipment and installation by a contractor for $40,000. And then with this project for the fire alarm system, what I would like to have done is having Apex kind of be the project manager, kind of run the project themselves, because they're more familiar with, when it comes to the electrical installation of a fire alarm system, they're much more better suited on that type of installation than what my brain is good at dealing with. And so there's also a $3,500 for them to do the actual design, because no matter what I do, we have to have an electrical engineer do the design for the fire alarm system before anybody can even put any hands on the job. So they've got that $3,500 for the lump sum for doing that, and then also they would be doing that $600 comes in for doing the bidding, so they'll do a digital bidding.
That's additional to the 40,000.
Correct, yeah. And so then they would do the bid letting and all that stuff, so this kind of takes a lot of that weight off of my shoulders for trying to find contractors, because I'll be honest with you guys, I've been having a hard time trying to find people for doing some of the work around here that I would like to have done and get some estimates on things. Cause I've definitely been doing my best to try to get hold of local contractors, cause I want them guys to have first stab at any of these projects, but a lot of them have either too busy, unwilling to take on the work, or even some of the people, when I have looked them up on the state's website, aren't even licensed to do some of the work, 'cause their licenses are so low that it's too much for them to take on, they'd have to increase their license to even take on the work.
So is it my understanding that on the Prairie Heating one with the rooftop unit, Capital City still wants to submit a bid on that too?
Correct, yes.
So we're still gonna be kind of waiting on that one, because
Yes,
we don't know what
yes.
that bid.
Yes.
Do we have a second one on Apex?
Apex, I had, what was it, Prairie Engineering that came in, and they did not have, that was not very happy with kind of how everything kind of stacked out together with how I kind of introduced and walked around the building with them. They were good, but there was a lot of to be desired out of that firm.
Okay,
See, they got here additional trips, the 800.
Yeah, I seen that.
Trip, that's a lot of
how
money.
many additional trips are they gonna make?
Okay, now, when I talked with,
I seen that too, and I was like, what?
okay, now, when I talked with, John Klein from Apex Engineering, the individual I've been dealing with on this one, he's looking at only really doing one trip down, because halfway through the project, the state electrical board will be down to do an inspection for the wire pole, and then the state electrical board will be down a second time at the end of the job to determine that everything is hooked up correctly. So that's the reason why he's only got just that one trip coming down. So anything after that will be billed at that $850 flat rate for each trip.
I guess the Northern Plains ones, I mean, they're take out galvanized water lines and put in copper ones. I don't see too much of a problem with that.
No.
How much pipe is in that? How much pipe is involved in that? Is there a lot of labor involved in that deal? Or, you know?
It's, I think your biggest problem is gonna be literally cutting out the old galvanized pipe and getting that out of here and then bringing your new pipe in. But from the sounds of it, it would take probably approximately about a week or so is what they're figuring, 3 to 4 days, maybe 5, just to kind of make sure everything is all done properly. But exact footage, I do not recall off the top of my head.
Well, it's one of them deals, I'm sure till they get into it, there's patches that might have been made where they don't have to replace it, there might be other stuff that we don't realize that they might have to replace, I mean, so, it's kinda tough. As somebody who does that kind of work, I know once you start turning in the walls, you can find things that you don't expect. Sometimes it's good, most of the time it's bad, so.
I would venture to guess when they cut those galvanized pipes out, you probably can't stick a pencil through some of them, they're gonna be.
Well,
so
yeah, and there's
close
probably a lot of cleanup
That's what's
involved
gonna
in it
be,
too.
That's
that's why they're getting the rust.
Yes, that's
Every
what.
time you turn on, that flush is going through, and it's taking that debris out.
Yep, and like I say, it's taking as long as it does for that, to run that faucet to get that brown out.
More than likely, there's a lot of cleanup involved when you're cutting out old galvanized pipe too. I mean, there's a lot of labor involved in that. It's probably bigger than 1/2-inch pipe on a lot of that, so if they're soldering or
Yeah.
pressing, I mean, it's expensive, so I don't see too much of a problem with that. The Prairie Heating one, I don't mind, I just would like to maybe see what the other, I mean, I would hate to see 2 additional bills from a roofing company and an electrical company or something coming in at the same price, and now it's like double, so that's where.
Yeah, I know with where like,
The other thing is I'd like to see it compared against the budget for what we have and what we budgeted with the ARPA funds and stuff too, not that we're expending it all on one project or
Yeah.
something. Just,
Yeah.
I like the idea, I think putting quieter forced air heat and then an air conditioning in the auditorium would make it much more usable the other half of the year, so I think it's a good idea. I think it's great, I know people have been calling for it for a long time because you can hardly use that building in July and August, cause it's just unbearable in
So
there.
the air conditioning, that'd be a little quieter too then?
yeah, that'll be still going through the same system, so it'll be pretty much capping off the Resner heaters that are downstairs, lowering that ceiling, like I said, then that would actually kind of hide some of that piping, that old piping, so this way we wouldn't be, like I said, when I was talking with Ryan Holm about that would be kind of tucked behind the false ceiling when we do bring that down, so then this way we're not having to worry about disposal, that stuff, that can stuff,
So-
stay mounted in
And we could
place.
do that, the false ceiling?
Well, that's what I'm sure Craig's checking through.
Capital, okay, you're still waiting on a bid from Capital. Did you say, when you were talking about earlier, that Capital City would be possibly including in their bid the lowering of that ceiling?
Yes,
But Prairie Heating did not.
no,
Okay, so that's gonna really throw that off, that
Well,
those bids are
yeah,
gonna
you
look
can't
different.
redo it though.
You know,
Well,
what,
it's Prairie Heating will not be the ones that would be lowering the ceiling, that would be having Capital City come in and doing the lowering of the ceiling, and then Prairie Heating will do the ductwork, the
Okay.
unit, the
Yeah.
heating unit and the.
Prairie Heating's not
Apparently you
bidding
can.
against Capital
Oh, you
City.
can,
They're-
I thought you couldn't redo anything in there.
All I have to do is talk with the State Historical Society
Yeah.
too, because we still need numbers from the contractors to find out how much the cost is going to be, and then we still need to have approval by the State Historical Society, whether if they're gonna okay.
Well, actually, it'd be nice to get the ceiling wall.
For sure.
I think it'd help the acoustics and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, I mean, I think it's great, I'd like to maybe, I guess, wait until we get some final numbers, and I'd like to compare it against the budget that we compared it to, so. That I would like to wait a little bit on.
Yeah.
Right,
Same
yeah.
with Apex, I mean, that's kind of a big project there too, I guess, but Apex is basically the only one you've got to bid from, essentially, right?
Well, I can tell you, we're talking with Sean Klein from Apex, he's been very, very good about being very forthcoming with information, and pretty much any question I've had, he's been able to answer right away, and no problem.
Who's that, Apex?
Yes. And then it was Prairie Engineering out of Bismarck was the other one that I had come down, and, when I talked to them guys too, it's like, I told them that I wanted an estimate right away, and I never really got one, I got a to be determined, I just got a proposal for the bid letting and the cost for like the trips down and what their cost would be, so I never really got a proper estimate out of them for expected work to be done by the contractor and the equipment costs.
So Apex Engineering's bid essentially is about $6,000.
About
And that's
that,
what that 40,000 is what they're estimating your project would be, that they would be facilitating, right?
right, with whoever that they would put
Right.
bid out to for the contract, to do
So-
the work and the equipment costs.
And you would need to get approval of Apex's part first before you could move on with the rest of it, is what you're saying.
Right, yeah, and that's one of them things where, like I say, I would like to have Apex kind of be the, project management on that one, since they are definitely way more familiar with how that system works than what I am.
And so it basically, from the way I'm reading it, for an additional $2,600, they're gonna handle the bidding and they're gonna be your construction inspector slash
Project
manager while
right.
you're doing your job.
Correct.
So I mean, really, you're looking at an additional $2,600 to hire someone else to do the job. And then, like you said, maybe a possible 850, let's say they make 2 trips out of it, it's another $1,700. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but really for somebody to go and handle, since they'd probably be doing the design anyway, you might as well have them overseeing their project. I really don't see a problem with that. The 40,000 right away when I first seen it, but that's their estimate for the project, so that's kind of what they're just preliminarily giving you a shot in the dark on.
Right, yeah.
It could be anywhere from 35 to 55,000.
That's kind of where my hopes are, is that it's not gonna be going over that 50,000 in my opinion, but.
So basically, you're looking for an approval for Apex so you could get them to jumpstart the project and even see where it goes.
Correct.
And then you were looking for approval, at least from Northern Plains, so you could move on the water line project.
Correct.
And then the Prairie Heating one,
There's still some more incurred costs
Right.
from the rest of that project, so I'm not
I don't see a problem with doing the Northern Plains ones, and if that's who you're looking for with Apex Engineering, you're having a hard time finding another engineer, and I don't really have an issue with that. Anybody else got any other input?
No?
So, I guess we might as well put that.
I'd
in
make a
formal
motion, to go ahead with the Northern Plains and the Apex
Okay,
contracts.
so we got a motion to, grant approval for the Northern Plains quote estimate and for the Apex Engineering quote or estimate. I guess I didn't see what there's a difference between quote and estimate, but either way, proposals.
Yeah.
The approval of both proposals for Apex Engineering and Northern Plains by Commissioner Weichel. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Holmes. Is there any more discussion? I think we just won't act on the Prairie Heating one. We'll just
Yeah.
kind of let it be, knowing that it's there, and when we get other bills, kind of bring it forward.
Right.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on the subject? We have a motion and a second for the approvals of the proposals for Northern Plains, for the water lines, and Apex Engineering for the proposed fire alarm system replacement. Okay, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Proposal approved. You can go ahead with those two.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, I appreciate your time
Yep.
today.
Thank you. Okay, so, I guess the hearing time is over for the objections to the minimum sale prices of the delinquent tax properties, so. I guess that just ends that, Marlis, or do we have to vote on something or
No,
approve it?
you're
Okay. Okay, so next on the agenda would be the auditing firms.
Okay, I handed out a couple sheets, one of them is just an email and the other one is a proposal. Emmons County has used Rath and Meyer for auditing firms for years and years and years, and I just found out here about a month ago that one of the gentlemen has retired, that was part owner of Rath and Meyer, and so they're not gonna do any county auditing anymore, they're just gonna concentrate on some schools that they have. So, we have to find another auditing firm. They were very reasonable, I'll tell you, last time they charged us $12,500 to do our 2-year audit. So, I contacted other counties, and there's like 17 counties that are in the same boat that we are, where you're losing Rath and Meyer. So I contacted the state auditor's office, and they have 40 people on their 40 entities on their waiting list right now. But she also told me, she said, you guys, they were very reasonable for you. If the state auditor's office would do it, she said it'd be probably double or even triple than what Rath did. So, and with 40 people on the, 40 entities on the waiting list, they wouldn't be able to get our 2021 and 2022 audit done. So I reached out to Windmere Roll. That's the one that provided a proposal to us. For doing the 2021 and 2022, they would charge us $29,000 to $33,000, and then after that, they want to go on an annual basis, and you'll see on the third page where they have prices of what they would charge us. That $29,000 to $33,000 does not include like any mileage, any hotel stays, and they figured they're going to be here about 3 days to audit for our 2 years. And then I also reached out to ID and Bailey, and they provided an estimate too. To do the 2021 and 2022 audit would be between $50,000 and $60,000, so they're quite a bit more expensive. There's not that many more auditing firms out there. We don't have much to go on. I even called like local, like Jody Kell, to see if she would be interested, if she know of anybody that would be interested, and or knows anybody else, and she didn't know of anybody, she wouldn't be interested in doing it either. So I'm just kind of looking for some direction on what you guys want us to do, because we're gonna have to have our 21-22 audit done by next spring.
I wonder if like Crown Associates or something like that in Bismarck, they do that kind of stuff.
Crown Association,
Crown Associates.
I could give them a call and ask them.
Well, it seems to me that Windmere Roll is about half the price, right?
Yeah,
It seems like the first year is always the most expensive, obviously, I suppose, because they gotta start from scratch, and then after that, I suppose it gets a little easier. Makes sense.
so, you know, the County Auditor Association was sharing emails with each other, and a lot of them do use the state auditor's office. They've been using it for years and years. We just never have. Mine is so reasonable. But there isn't very much to go off of in the state of North Dakota, but I'll check out this Crown Associates ones and see. Are they out of Bismarck?
Yeah. Yeah,
And I can ask them if they would do it. If not, we can discuss it maybe at next month's meeting again, because we do have some time, but if we are gonna get on board with anybody, we're gonna have to do it soon before they fill up, because other counties that are using Rath and Meyer.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Because I know Logan is gonna go with these guys, with this company, and I don't know what McIntosh is doing either, but I'm kinda thinking we're gonna do the same thing.
Well, we're almost in that boat where the longer you wait, the harder it's gonna find
Well,
somebody.
if they're looking at these two proposals like we are, one's half the price of the other one, I can
Yeah.
assume which
Yeah.
one they're gonna rush to, so, I mean,
I would agree.
but that doesn't always mean they're better neither, though.
No,
It'd be
right.
interesting to
Gotta
see
start
that
somewhere else.
credentials or anything of it, I will say one thing, ID Bailey's out of Bismarck, where it seems to me Widmer rolls out Fargo.
Yeah,
So I mean, if you wanna compute mileage and things like that, you know, I don't know if that's gonna make up half the price, but just something to think about, that you got somebody coming from Fargo versus somebody from Bismarck. I mean, that's one thing to consider with the ID Bailey part, and, actually, it looks like after the first year, it's basically $20,000 to $22,000, and ID Bailey's at 30 to 40, so I mean, they're still more expensive, but the gap definitely gets tighter after the first year. I mean, just something to consider. Cheapest isn't always the best.
That's called, the guy's name is Ken Crum. Kent. Or Ken.
And then, did you ask Russell Schick?
he wasn't one of the firms that does accounting, so I don't know.
Oh, he's a
Cause
CPA.
a lot of these CPAs don't do,
Well, they might not do auditing, I just think of the local CPAs, cause the other one would have been, would be, McCrory's in town too, but if they don't audit, I guess that,
Yeah.
and if they're too busy, at least give them the chance to say no though. That's the other thing, if you wanna call them.
is it Rush Chick?
Rush Schick,
Yeah.
and then, McCrory's would be the other one too, I guess, in town there, just, give them the chance to deny you anyway before you go look somewhere else, I guess. Something like that.
And if,
Pretty big job, I
None
don't
of
think
these-
anybody local's gonna wanna do it, it's a pretty, I mean, I'm guessing it takes staff, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I just don't think they got enough people.
so can I get your permission that I will contact these three that you asked me to? And if they're not interested, can I go ahead and just hire this other one? Cause I don't want them to fill up and.
Yeah, we don't wanna wait another month.
I
either.
think so, yeah, I would be okay with that.
Cause I gotta get somebody on board for the 21,
Yeah.
22 on.
Yeah, because we, like I said, the longer we wait, the harder it's gonna be to find somebody.
Okay,
Okay,
that's all I
well,
have then.
Okay.
think we're just gonna all just mutually agree, or do you want an emotion?
No.
I don't think we need a motion.
Okay, no, yeah, I'd say, cause you got that in your budget for auditing anyway, not, I mean, that's.
Well, I was short because I didn't know about this, but I
Right,
do
this
have
would be a
money
little
in
more
state
expensive,
revenue that I'll
Yeah.
use it for.
But you had some auditing in your budget, so it's not like it's a
Right,
total start from scratch expenditure, so. Yeah, I'd say go ahead with that.
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Skylar. The floor is yours, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, I got some handouts here. Pretty much one for everybody. Pretty easy going day today, huh?
Don't jinx it.
Don't jinx it.
Don't jinx
You
it.
just- Gonna jinx it.
So this is that, Beaver Bay Road issue with, Tina Weber and the.
Yeah, Mr. Weber, yep, the engineering firm went out there and found the property markers. Obviously the road, if you go to the second page, it gives you a better look. The color page is very great. Obviously you can see that the road's, a good portion of it's on our property, so.
And this fence apparently is,
Holy cow.
that, so is this squared area, that's a 50-foot road easement, so that fence is in the easement, and then the road is not in the easement, mostly it's on someone's property.
I believe so.
I see.
So I don't know if, I guess, I don't wanna speak for it, but I'll give you a little bit of back history. They just inherited this land, so they're not sure what they wanna do with it yet. They just knew that this road was probably on their property line, so getting ahead of the game instead of waiting till they're selling it and then deciding that it's like that.
Tina reached out to me and, she said they have no immediate plans of selling the property, so it's not like, cause I know last month when we kinda talked, it was like, oh boy, they wanna do something, but she said that, I mean, they obviously want it resolved, but it wasn't like she's like saying we gotta resolve it in the next 2 weeks or something, so. like I said, waiting for this information, probably looking into contacting who owns this fence, see if they'll move it, or if we gotta do it, not that we go and start another fight.
So can that road be moved pretty easy then?
It's pretty tight down there,
I was gonna say that,
so,
pretty tough.
I mean, that's why we're bringing it forward now, so we can figure out our best options if we want to. Try to move that road, I mean, that's a lot of work, doesn't mean it can't be done, just more parties involved, so.
The whole thing is basically a 50-foot easement there?
I believe so, that's what the, cause I think that gets into that, they got this on tax liens or something, I'm not 100% sure what happened down there, right?
So yeah, so the road easement went back on taxes. And it was kind of the agreement to the board is that we didn't want someone purchasing it and putting up a toll booth or gating it off, and so we basically inherited this property, which is that 50-foot road easement, so. Unless we wanna put a $2 price on it and sell it now. Cause yeah, it's gonna create headaches, and we knew it was gonna create headaches, but that was the trouble, is that was the only access on that property, so yeah, you have to. My assumption is this 50-foot road easement, either nobody knew it existed, or it was extremely difficult to build it there, and they just built it on that lot, which was probably owned by the person who built the road at the time, and it wasn't a big deal, and now two lot owners later, now they're dealing with the issue of this road basically taking up a fair portion of that lot anyway, I mean,
Yeah, and
a quarter of it.
So if you would move the road, would you couldn't hardly build it to what a regular county road would be. I mean, you couldn't put the ditches and everything, and you would have to just leave it level like that, right?
well, it depends on how big you wanna get this project and buying.
Because otherwise you're going,
Yeah, that's a lot of dirt to move next to that
Yeah.
fence line to
Yeah.
put the road where it goes and then try to cut ditches in there and everything like that, so.
Well, that's the trouble, it looks like they cut the road into the base of the hill, which makes the most sense, that was the path of least resistance, the trouble is it was on someone's property, not in the easement. Or actually, it almost looks like there's a trail on the easement, on the inside of that fence. That's probably where the road should be, almost. No, not quite. Well,
Well,
because that fence is in the easement. So basically, that road needs to be between that trail and the road that's actually there on that slope.
That's just a wooden fence?
Yeah, it's just a wooden fence, but it's not on their property line, obviously, according to the survey. And you have to take some trees out, it looks like.
how long a stretch is that? 260
yeah,
260 feet?
yeah.
I suppose the county, we couldn't really buy that, we'll just continue.
Well, the only trouble with that is,
You know, if we bought that little bit, then, I don't know. Can't do that, but yeah.
but if we bought that, we would shrink her lot down to where it probably couldn't be developed on, then
Mhm.
so we'd buy the land from her, then deny her building permit on that property, because we bought the land, I mean, that would be a, yeah. I mean, you'd have,
How big a lot is it?
well, it must, I don't know, it doesn't say here.
Probably would be cheaper to build a road.
Well, it would be cheaper to build a girl, that's for sure.
That's why I say, if we could just buy it, maybe she would sell it, because a part of it.
Yeah, I don't know, but building the road there is gonna be a,
Wow, yeah.
well, like I said, it looks like it's overgrown with trees, at least on one side for sure, and then you'd be cutting into a hill, that's gonna be a major problem.
So they own the lot where the road is on their lot then?
Mhm.
So they own 25 too, or 24 too, you know, or just 24?
No, which is 25,
How big is that lot, you know?
0.39 acres,
How much?
0.39.
So it's not even an acre.
It's not even a half acre. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you'd almost be better off buying the lot.
It would be,
Yeah.
I mean, even,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, unless there's a,
be cheaper.
I mean, depending on what they want for
Oh,
the
yeah.
lot, obviously, but yeah, I mean, you're gonna stick 20 to 50,000 in that road.
Oh.
Easy.
yeah.
I mean, by the time you're done, I mean, I'm just being generous here, it probably will be more, but not to mention, the problem when you get down there is there's not a lot of room. I mean, that's the big issue, that's why that road is where it is too, it's not like, yeah. All those are things to consider, I mean, we don't have to make a
Yeah.
decision today, but I think
Well, a person should see what, if they'd be interested or how much they would want for it.
you'd almost be better off purchasing it like right away. Then you'd actually have some room if you did wanna make an improvement down the road. You know, I mean, not saying you would, but if you wanted to, you'd have some room.
Right.
So she, what, they inherited that lot?
Sounds like it.
So they don't know what they wanna do there, or?
As of
Well,
our conversations, no, but I don't wanna speak for her.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, the one thing that's a trouble with it, if it's only 0.3 some acres, there's not much you can do with it.
No,
It almost would be just better off to,
that's what I was thinking, they would be better off just selling
that'd be something to consider for sure, because like you said, moving that road and having someone move their fence and cutting into a hill,
Yeah.
that's a big project for, and obviously that's why they built the road where they did, because it doesn't look like there's a better spot, so.
Okay, well, something to consider.
Yeah,
Okay. Other than that, update on 21st Avenue out there, that crossing, that's completed, that was completed actually a couple days after the last meeting, so it went pretty well. The guys really did a great job out there. The landowners were very, very helpful, very easy to work with, so that project went pretty smoothly actually for
That's by
once.
Kelchester?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've had contact with them already, and they're very appreciative.
Yes. Yeah, they were very happy with the work you guys
Yeah.
did.
The guys did a really good job out there, so. Other than that, we are just into tidying things up for the end of, for winter time. We've got some blades running in an area today, taking care of some sod windrows. One of our blade operators is out with COVID, so. Taking care of that, doing some shop maintenance, and been putting in a few culverts here and there where we.
Is that why it's flagged on 17th, north of my place? There's a culvert flag. Between 83rd and 84th. There's a culvert flagged. It'd be like 3 miles, 2.5 miles north of my place on 17th Avenue.
Yeah, probably, I guess.
There's a flag there, and I know there's a culvert underneath there that's flagged.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, now I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that one's really silted in really bad and stuff
Okay,
like
so
that.
are the two that are south of my mailbox. Those two that crossed that 17th, they're over half silted shut. That's why when the spring, when that water comes through, it goes over the top of the road. And I just thought that last year when they brought the shoulders in and stuff, I thought maybe that was something you guys were gonna address. And didn't get to, that's fine, but I think those two culverts, if you really look at them on the release side of them, they've already got holes that are about 5 feet deep, swirl holes.
Yep,
That needs to be recut and rebladed, and I think those culverts either need to be cleaned or replaced. Just because if we get a major rain event, a 3-inch or a 4-inch, then it goes over the top road, it used to never do that, and now it does it all the time. I
yep,
mean, if you're looking at that, and I'm not saying it has to be done now, but it's something to put on the list. Yeah,
yep, there's a lot of culverts in the county
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
are silted in and
I actually.
runs off the fields and then runs into there.
Did you install some on 18th and, 58th out south of Braddock, out towards Magram's grandmother? I drove that road yesterday, It looked like there was 2 culverts that were
Oh,
just recently put in.
Through that,
Through that slough?
yep,
Okay.
yep, we had to
I
replace
thought
those
those
two.
looked like they were just put in.
Yeah, there was nothing left at the bottom.
Well, I'm
so
sure they rusted
They
out.
were just rusted out, so
Yeah.
yep, we
Yeah.
replaced those two, yeah. Put in a few culverts the last couple of weeks, so it's tough to remember where we all went. Bring it up like that.
So when
but
you're
yeah.
doing those culverts, are you pulling someone off the blade to help?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because of the man shortage, right, I get that. So when people are calling, you know, that's one of the reasons is that these guys are being pulled because they're doing other work. It's not that, you know,
Yeah, we're not just sitting in the shop,
Yeah.
just not taking the blade, so we're doing something else, and I mean, like that 21st Avenue crossing,
Yeah.
water project, that was a pretty big project, that takes a number of guys, so.
yeah.
So, yeah, we're just, manpower's always been the biggest struggle this year and previous years, so.
Are you still graveling too?
Yep, we're still graveling, we're gonna keep graveling until Mother Nature tells us we can't gravel anymore. And so we're hoping to get a couple more weeks left to gravel yet.
Have you been hauling out of
I'm hauling down the knolls down there.
Well, we were,
by the creek too, by the bush?
yeah, we were out of the Mastel pit,
Yeah.
and then now we're out of, we were hauling out of the Knoll pit,
Mm-hmm.
and then now we're out of the Vanderhorst pit down in the Cattail.
Okay.
Kinda working in that southwest region or
Okay.
area.
That reminds me, Marlo, did knolls get paid now?
Yep, so.
Okay,
Well, I think, one thing, just a couple things to bring up is, just to keep the guys probably doing some grading here before winter and get some of these washboards. Yeah, just during harvest, I mean, things are just getting beat up pretty good, you know, so make sure you're doing a little bit of focusing on the blading here towards, cause once it freezes up, then you're kinda stuck with a lot of that stuff, but, 84th Street Southeast, which, both sides of the highway actually, like going to the east past like Jeanette Chaussak's and going over to like Marvin Wolf's and stuff too is,
yeah, I got a call on that one.
well, I could probably use a few loads of gravel, and there's so many rocks on the road, I mean, I don't think you gotta pop them this year, but should probably go out there. I mean, there's so many rocks that are like the size of like a football that are sticking out now that we're getting into like that road bed. If you wanna go drive by and check it out, just kinda put it on the list of things to do, and then that road, definitely like the first mile off the highway to the east, on Highway 83 to the east on 84, it's pretty dark. If you're gonna haul gravel by there, maybe put a few loads on there would be good, just to give it at least a coating, cause come spring, that's gonna be pretty rugged. And then, one thing that should be getting done too is we should probably consult with Wold Engineering about moving forward with those 2 box culverts. With the one at 21st, like you guys had just, because you know how it is, 2 months ago, we were looking at June or July of next year, and I mean, if we're gonna get those prairie dog funds, so is everybody else.
Yep.
So we should at least try and, whatever steps we can to keep moving forward, you know, start having Wold looking into the process, like if we gotta do pre-engineering, and if we gotta bid out engineering, and then, you know, like a federal project, so I'm guessing that's where that prairie dog money's gonna be very similar to like a federal aid project. Cause the other one is for that Wobong crossing. I don't know what street that is exactly, cause it kinda jogs, but you know which one I'm talking about, right? We should keep pushing them forward on that and keep the process going, and if we gotta do bids, we should be trying to do bids this winter, so we can start staging it for hopefully you know, I mean, if it's a year out, we should try and get ahead of the game, because everybody else is gonna be doing exactly, contractors, engineers, everybody's gonna be doing what we're doing, so.
So what about that bridge out by the creek there?
That one probably too, but I think at the same time, that's not happening until 2024, so I think we probably would get on that after these, we probably,
Which one by the creek?
That,
By Deion Sanger's.
by
Yeah.
that gravel pit out there.
Yeah, the
Oh, the one
bridge
that we
we put in.
were awarded that?
Yeah, we're awarded that.
We're actually, the advertising in the paper went out, I think, stops on Friday, correct, Marlo?
yeah, we did advertise for the preliminary engineering, I think, on that, right?
Yep, so then after that process, then we
Yeah.
interview for the design, and then we interview after that, and then you have to interview again for the,
So we already did
Construction.
kinda start that, but yeah, that'll be,
so that ball's moving.
yeah. But that's why we probably should keep moving with those box culverts, cause if we're gonna get on the list to get culverts and
Right, I
get on
agree.
some contractor's list, we better keep going on it, cause.
Okay, I will update them on that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just contact them, tell them we still wanna move forward with it, if they wanna come into the meetings, or if they wanna start submitting stuff to you and John and Marlis or whatever, but we should keep moving with it, not that we let it go by the wayside. And then, one other thing, I had an interesting idea brought to me, cause, so the Tower Hill Road out here, you know, that, where at the end of Broadway at Linton, and then you go up that hill, and it's rough.
Oh,
And-
when you come, yeah,
I mean, Al does his best, but it lasts a week maybe, and one of the farmers that mentioned to me that the stop signs should be changed. So, cause the problem is they have to stop at the bottom of that hill, and then they're always grabbing gears going uphill.
They're
Same when
coming
you're
down.
coming down and going into the stop sign, you're stopping, and will it save it, won't it, I don't know. I do know that that used to either be a four-way stop, or those signs were switched, and they got switched again, so I don't know, you know, was there a reason for it, traffic safety wise, can we not do that? Wouldn't be a bad idea to entertain though, because it does make sense why it's so rough, is because you're always losing momentum at that hill rather than like just continuing. And if you posted the speed limit at maybe 25, or did even like a flashing sign, that really gets their attention, so they're going slow through the hill rather than braking.
yeah.
I mean, it made sense.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be a good idea, I think it's something, obviously, there's probably some safety standards and things, but just something to keep in your mind, you know, you go to some of these classes, or you're talking to somebody, check into that,
Yeah, we can look into that.
cause the other side of it is dead flat, I mean, it would
Mhm.
be easier to stop on those,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
Something to consider, when he brought that up, I thought, you know, that was a pretty good idea, but I was also told it was like that once before, so there's probably a reason, but.
Another option would be, we, you know, do the paving out there by pave it up 100 feet or so.
I was even thinking of that too, or almost just paving it till it like flat, like the old trash incorporate, or the old
Oh,
waste
yeah,
management
Pave it
building.
up that way.
Pave it up like
Because
1,000 feet or
I think
something.
that, you know, with the bus, whatever, and yeah.
It's
I mean,
horrible.
It's terrible, absolutely terrible. You only can go about 5 miles an hour at the most.
Yeah,
And there's nothing you can do because, yeah, the way it is, I'm almost thinking pave it up there a little ways.
that wouldn't be a horrible idea either. I mean, I know it would be expensive, but really that thing's almost impossible to maintain. Well, we took the
Yeah.
carbides out there when we tested them that day, that lasted like 3 days, and it
Yeah.
was rougher than heck again. I mean, that's not a bad idea at all to consider even paving it.
Well, we can look into it and get a engineer's estimate on it.
I mean, it's worth checking into, because that is just a horrible piece of road to maintain. There's just so much slope on it, and
And it's dangerous.
because the nice part, actually, if you paved it, you could actually make it a four-way stop.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, safety-wise, maybe that's the better route, and if you had it paved, then,
Yeah.
you know,
Cause I know when
asphalt.
you're coming down that hill, and if you're going a little too fast, you're losing it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
That's
that's
a
a
bad
bad
chatter you right off the
Oh,
bat. Yeah.
it's unreal.
Yeah, no, I'd say it's something to consider. You know, if we have
Yeah.
someone down looking at things, have them take a look at it, because that thing it's gonna be rough forever at this point, because there's no good way to maintain it right now, so.
Okay, yeah, we will look into it.
Other than that, that's all I really had, so.
Okay, you attempted to, I said attempted, to take the weeds off on 88th between the linears. What's there a second plan, or
Yeah, we're gonna probably just have to rent
a Jerry mower? I'll walk behind Jerry with this, with the, you know, you can get one of these little walk behinds that actually has a sickle in it. Because those weeds are so tough now, right? They've dried out, and it's like trying to snap a tree off, that don't work.
yeah,
Either that or torch it and burn it.
yeah, we're looking into just getting a brush mower.
Yeah, I saw they were there one day and they were attempting, and I was like, I don't think this is gonna work, and I could see it wasn't working very well.
Well, they did it, it just
Yeah.
wasn't cost effective.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah,
So, we're actually probably just gonna rent a brush mower for the front of the skid steer.
oh, and then just go in between it.
Yep, just mow them down,
Yeah.
so.
So how are the rest of the roads as far as the weed cutting?
Actually, pretty good, we haven't really ran into a lot of, stuff like that, so. Friday's our day that we're gonna go around and make sure everything's done up, and,
You got yours all done?
sorry,
You
what's
got
that?
the counties all done?
Yeah, all the county, federal aid roads are done, so they've been done for a while, so we're gonna, yeah, Friday's our day to go around and find out if there's any bales left in the ditches, stuff like that, mowing needs to be done, so. We actually haven't been finding a lot, like blade guys that have been out, they haven't seen much, so it's good. I'm glad that they
Yeah,
took the initiative. And
Seems
actually, some farmer, or some landowners are actually taking some trees out too along on tops of the roads and stuff like that, so.
It seems like all the bales are pretty well gone too, that was the other thing that.
Yep, I haven't seen any yet, so, I mean, that's good, so. We're moving along. Other than that, I don't really have much that's about it for my updates and stuff like that.
Did you guys ever do anything or check into like the tree cutting, like along, like where some of the trees were overhanging the rights of way and stuff?
Yep, actually, what's it, Wendy
Wendy, yeah.
Yeah, he's actually gonna go out and, do a couple spots that we gave him, and then that way we can kinda get a better price point, cause it's such a, you got one or two trees here, and then you gotta drive so far to the next one, so he's gonna do a small area and kinda figure out the best price for both of us, so. So yeah, he's working on that, so.
and if you guys, if any of you haven't stopped at the Hazelton shop, I stopped there. What an improvement. That is super, super nice in there.
Yes,
Yeah.
that helped that building tremendously.
Wow,
so
yeah, it is,
we're happy. We still have some work left to do, we're waiting for the electrician to go in there and wire some
yeah, it
stuff
looks
up.
very good. I mean, now it's a very usable shop.
Yeah, and it should really save on heating costs this winter,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, hats off to Mike and whoever else did a nice job. They really did. You can tell them I said so.
Yep, I will do that.
Never been up there.
Yeah, it looks great. Other than that, I don't have anything else either for Skylar.
Some of that tree trimming, is that way down on like the southern end of the county, like almost?
Well, there is some down there, but
Okay.
he's gonna go up just north here
Sure.
first and try that out, so.
Okay, well, cause that was one of the big complaints I'd had, was down on like Third Avenue and like 99th or something down there. I'd given that to John a while ago,
Yeah, 3rd and 99.
okay, or somewhere, it was somewhere in that vicinity, I'd never been down there, but I just got a couple pictures at the time, and I had told John about it, so just make sure that gets on the list of whenever he does get going on it or something, get them cleaned up. How about, did you guys, have you, like we had talked about, have you prepared any kind of like a job description and a possible listing for another blade man, or?
Well, we were working on that in like June or July, and then I talked to the HR consultant, and then I never got anything back from her.
Okay,
And now that you guys will have to move forward with that now and seeing if she wants to still do something like that, or.
sure. Okay.
She emailed them back to me when we were doing that, with some corrections, so I do have the update.
Okay.
I thought she included two of those emails.
No. When did you,
Well, that's been so long already.
was it? Yeah, I mean, I know we went back and forth a few times and made some corrections and stuff like that, but we were just making sure that was the finalized one then.
Cause I know the same thing as you guys kinda have a job description for like a temporary worker and some, you know, like a seasonal and things like that too.
Yep,
Okay,
and she was, yeah, that's what I called her on, was the seasonal one, to see what her thoughts were, and she said she was gonna get something, but that, I mean, that was, I think, July, so. I haven't seen anything yet, but,
cause if we were gonna, you know, you probably wanna, like, if you wanted to get a seasonal guy for the summer, you're probably gonna wanna advertise that in March or something, so you get somebody right away or so. Just so that stuff gets ironed out, okay?
are we looking at hiring more than seasonal, are we gonna add another operator, or?
Well, I think, I mean, you're shorthanded, right? If you're shorthanded, I would look at trying to get another person on board. All of a sudden, we get a tough winter and we're gonna sit here.
Well, I think we should, the first thing is we should probably review what we budgeted for as far as, you know, some of that stuff, not that we go and put ourselves in a pinch, but yeah, I think we should definitely be considering at least doing like we were before too, is at least advertising and maybe getting some apps, and when you get enough apps, maybe interviewing, cause there's, you know, we should be preparing for the eventuality of someone leaving, retiring, something like that, I mean, that's, especially now that, like you said, we're shorthanded anyway, it'd be nice to bring a guy on before you lose them, before always being so shorthanded again, you know, so. rather, we're still kind of at full power to what we were, rather than always being a guy short and then bringing them on, so. I think that's where, especially over this winter, at least we should be considering and getting prepared for it if we wanna list a job and, you know, we get 3, 4, 5 applicants, you interview and see if you can get a good guy and bring him on, but I think we need to check the budget first though, make sure that we don't put the cart before the horse on that too, but I think it's something we need to consider.
I believe we budgeted for another
Well, that's what I thought too, yeah.
That's what I mean.
employee, but we only budgeted his salary, not the other end of it, you know, the benefit end of it, which is good, that's a pretty big chunk of money too, like when you pay benefits and stuff like that, so.
I think that's something, I think we just need to review it against the budget and see if we have the room, and if we do, then we move forward with it, cause I think it'd be good to start bringing somebody on and get them trained up before the next guy leaves for whatever reason. And at the same time, like we said, we can already agree we could use another guy at least, so. Something to consider that we should keep working on kind of consistently rather than waiting until someone leaves.
And then the other thing I wanna bring up, I guess, so Mr. Iblock in the office, he's been super great, super awesome, very helpful to the county. He's never said anything to me, but I believe he's underpaid for what he's doing. He's still making operating wages, so. And I didn't see that wage study either before, so I don't, but we were already working on moving him up, like myself was. That's one of the first things I noticed, that he was underpaid, so that's why I started budgeting for it to bring him up, a pay raise, so. I don't know what, you guys had a 3% across the board, right? That's what everybody agreed on? Except for a few special people to move them up?
Well, there were some that were, you know, they were below average of that salary deal, and I mean, that salary thing wasn't perfect, but it was the information that we had, so that's what I mean, our main goal is to try and get everybody to have a competitive wage statewide, you know, we're not gonna probably compete with Burley and Cass and them, but we should be competitive or probably a little better than some of our smaller counties around us, cause we have a pretty big county, so. And so that's kind of the goal, I mean, it's kind of an ongoing process, I mean, every year you try and identify your weak spots and bring them forward, but, I think the big thing before we really probably just address a lot more wage situations is to probably, I know we were working with Pam on that too, was getting a little more ironed out job description scenario and probably some kind of a, what's the right word, you know, some kind of a scale within each department where you have someone starting at the beginning, you have your middle, and you have your more experienced people or whatever, and trying to create some consistency within the departments and stuff too, rather than just picking out offices or picking out employees in those offices and giving them, you know, raises based on just statewide numbers or something else too, so. So I think even in John's case, I think, you know, just like anybody else, we're gonna have to try and fit them into a description and then come up with a pay scale or a range that's adequate for that position, I think, so. You know, so going forward with something, that's what we all need to be working on too, with Pam and within ourselves. And I know Pam was gonna relate it to kind of what Burley County's doing, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but it's gonna be kind of modified, because Emmons County doesn't have the kind of employee structure that Burley County does, but I think that's probably the direction it's heading, so.
So like at the last budget hearing meeting, I don't remember her name, but she was sitting up here. You guys told her that the department heads needed to take the lead on this, contact Pam and stuff like that. Well, now we're no longer allowed to contact Pam, so is the commissioners gonna take the lead on this now?
Well, I think the department heads need to probably work amongst themselves, like just, I mean, because you guys are all gonna bounce ideas off each other on how you wanna structure your guys' departments and stuff too. I don't think Pam should have to do it all, I mean, we are our own county, we should be able to develop it ourselves. I think once you come up with those ideas, then we can consult with Pam on what fits, what doesn't work, what, you know, what's, you know, legal or illegal, or all the different things that you use her to consult for, so I don't wanna overload her with a bunch of work on stuff that we should be able to handle. I mean, I think she was gonna create some guidelines or give us kind of something to go off of, but we're gonna have to do it ourselves. I mean, So that's where, like you said, inside your department, how you're familiar with things and stuff, your ideas should get brought forward, and those will maybe mix with some ideas from somewhere else, we'll create something that works in Emmons County. You know, whether you wanna create different scales for your operators, whether you wanna create whether or not they're an operator or not, whether or not they have a CDL or not, whether, you know, whether or not they're in more of a leadership role versus just an operator role. I mean, how you wanna see your department is where your input's gonna come in. I don't want it all to come from an outside source, and then everybody hates it because, you know, they don't work here, why do they know anything? So that's where the department heads together are gonna either have to, if you wanna work with other department heads, great. If you wanna just come up with your own thing and bring that forward, then I think that's fine too, and we're just gonna have to work on it together as a group. Pam's just a consultant, she's not gonna do all the work.
Well, correct, so, but if I bring it forward just to the commissioners and then someone will be designated to talk to her for us, I guess, on our
Yeah,
behalf?
I'd say so. I think the best thing for us to do is to have a bunch of things together and then consult with Pam on things we don't either agree on or we don't understand. But if there's things that we're just like, yeah, we like how that is, I mean, that's where, I mean, we're gonna do it ourselves and make it so it fits our county too, so.
Mr. Chairman, can I say something?
Sure.
You know, there's this kind of confusion that some department heads worked with Pam on this, and nobody did.
Oh, I don't believe
The
that,
only thing is, at the end of April, she said that she was contacted, I think, by the sheriff and by you to do a salary study, and she asked me to send her the information. And I had just did it for the NDACO salary study, and so I just forwarded that to her, and nobody from the county worked with her on this at all. You know, at the end of June then, she emailed me that sheet, and she said, please make copies of this for the county commissioners, and that's what I did. But like, I never worked with her on that, I don't think the sheriff worked with her on that. I think there's some confusion that some department heads were left out. Nobody was left out. Nobody worked with her on that. She did this all on her own. I never had any communication with her about this from the time, the end of April, when I emailed it to her, till the end of June, she emailed it back to me. And I never even called her. She never called me in between anything, so I think there's this kind of confusion that some department heads worked with her and some didn't, and that's not the case. She just did it all on her own.
Well, there might be some confusion that, like, when I contacted her about the pay scale, what I was looking for was more the job scale. I mean, that was, you know, what you are inside your department. The pay was really relevant. What I wanted to do is, because the struggle we always have is you have one department that does a certain job when they budget, and then there's other departments that, you know, budget differently, and we don't have a set way to, you know, that's why when there's employee disputes about their wages, and it's like, well, we don't really have an ironed out system where we can go to it and go, hey, we all agree that this person fits this guideline, this job description, and that pay goes along with that. So, you know, what Pam submitted with the salary, comparison was good information, but what I was looking for was more of the structure, like what Burley County has, like if you start out, you're at Tech 1, or at whatever you wanna call it. But so there was probably some confusion with that too, which is probably on my part for not clarifying maybe more with that, but at the same time, I know when Pam and I had talked about it, she was like, well, I mean, you guys are gonna have to take the lead on it, and she'll just kinda consult with us, like, I don't know if that'll work, or, you know, maybe you should do it this way. And so we kinda have to start getting the ball rolling, otherwise we're just basically leaning on her to do all of it, and she's just not gonna do that, so.
yeah, and I don't think, that I guess from my department head, like, I didn't think that other department heads were working and we got left out or anything like that. I'm just trying to clarify, like, last meeting was said to work with the department heads and then contact her, well then, everybody got that email.
Right.
So now I wanna know what the next step, so we can just keep that ball rolling, so, cause like, we've already, like, in the road department, as the department head, I was already working on that, of, like, I budgeted more money for raises because of the different step, or, I mean, I guess, we didn't define an actual step program, like, I just base it off of merit and what people can do and how things work, like.
Well, yeah, you can bring your recommendations to us, and then we can go from there, what we think and stuff like that. That's basically what we're looking for.
Well, I think, yeah, going forward, that's what you should be doing. I mean, doing it based on merit is fine, because you are the department head, but we should also be working on building a structure that's consistent, like even like the job descriptions, like what are some of these guys' job titles? And then when they move up or start inheriting other job titles, that becomes a part of their raise too. Not only do they get a, you know, like a cost of living increase, like everybody agrees you get 2%, and then above that, it's like, well, this person made the step from this to this, so not only are they gonna get their 2%, they would get an addition, they would fit this range of whatever pay we decide to give them, you know, I mean, it's gonna be a process, it's not gonna just get solved in a month, or, I mean, it's gonna take a year to get it going, and then another, I mean, then, you know, you're gonna go through a budget cycle, and it's maybe not gonna work like you want, and, I mean, it probably takes years to cultivate it the way we want, so, but that's the mindset we need to have, is that we're creating not just a scenario where I like what this guy's doing, and this guy basically did the same thing, but I'm just not as in favor of it, so he's not gonna get as big a wage. We need to have some structure based on it, on all the departments, not just the road department or anywhere else, so that's what we're getting at. And the same thing with new hires, we have always had a problem with that, what do you do with a new hire, where do you start them at? We should have a little more structure so that decision is easier to get made, like this is where we agree we're gonna start someone, and then, you know, or the same thing with someone who's got a ton of experience that comes in from like another county. Do you start them as a new employee when they're really, you're hiring them to start right away as being this experienced employee, but they're gonna get paid like they're a beginner? That's not right either. We've never done a very good job of ironing that out, so we're rewarding these people based on their experience and their abilities, so that's why the system needs to get better. So going forward, now that you're new, that's a great way to start out. I mean, whether that's similar to a county you started in already, or another place you worked at, if there's a good system to bring in on it, let's start
Yeah,
integrating some of
it's
those.
like, it's not like we have to have Pam Weiner set this up for us. If you
Yeah.
guys have a good plan or a good thing, good structures type set up and bring it forward, well, hey, this looks good, you know.
Well, and that's the reason why working with the other department heads, it would be easier if all of you came with all your ideas and we just had like one, like if we had, instead of dealing it with month after month, we're like, oh, the sheriff's department came in, and now it'd be nice if you guys got together with your ideas, bring them in, and we start building off of a meeting. You have a few corrections, okay, come back in 2 months, and you know, and just keep working at it so that way we can find, because you're gonna have ideas that are gonna be horrible for the sheriff's department and vice versa, but you're also gonna have ideas where it's like, wow, that's a great idea for all the departments, and then we can start building off that, so. I think overall it's gonna be better for all the employees and for the commissioners and the department heads, so.
Okay, well, we will work on it some more, I guess, then.
Well, like I said, I think it's a good opportunity for you to take charge of that and start building the department the way you want it to be with those kinds of things like raises and benefits, and where you can offer those rewards as a department head by going, I'm moving this guy up, or my recommendation is to move this guy up, and that makes our decision easier too then, so.
Okay, we'll do.
How about these utility permits?
I didn't see any issue with them, they're out by the river, so.
Okay.
How about Paul Caney's Road and Jim Strand, and up by the Braddock?
On 10th Avenue there,
I was gonna say, that must be 10th Avenue, yeah.
it's done.
It's done, okay. Thanks.
Well, we put an extension on the culvert, and just, what had happened there is they replaced that culvert, and then they tacked some fines around it, and when it rained one time, the fines kinda just washed down, and it was just a little hole on the side of the road. So I just dug it back and extended the culvert and packed in some dirt, cleaned the waterway out a little bit, and
Good, I bet they were happy.
yeah, so that was actually done 4 weeks ago. Well, at the same time we did those culverts up in,
Up on 18th there?
yeah, 18th. Like we finished putting that culvert in, and then I went over there and did that one later that afternoon, so.
Are you kinda working with, Fishers up at the Woolbon pit as far as like reclamation timing and things like that, or
Yeah, as of
pile
Friday
size?
afternoon, they had 80,000 yards put up. So, they're still plugging away at it, we've been sampling weekly, and so.
Doesn't seem possible that there's only 80,000 on that pile. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, they droned it on Friday, so.
Yeah, I just said, so that's unreal, cause that pile is huge.
Yeah, I know, almost double in size.
How much do you think starting at about?
Well, it's changing a little bit, cause they're, like, when you go further north, it starts planing out a little bit, so the gravel's not as thick and as deep, and, I mean, when they kinda come up with their estimates, they just do a couple few test holes and do some math, and, I mean, some of it's just, you could be 5 feet off and it could change dramatically, so. They're still thinking they're gonna get all of our quantities, for sure.
And our contractor quantity was 140,
145 plus or minus.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe.
so they're on pace to at least hit our
They
quoted
should be,
amount.
yep. Yeah, they're gonna just keep going, I guess, and see where they're at after they hit our quantities and what time of the year it is.
And you're kind of working with like, with them and like Ken Wolbon as far as like reclamation needs and stuff too, where.
Well,
like
that's
some of the-
not, that's between Ken and Fisher's, like,
Well, right, but I'm just saying like some of the other spots, like we have other, like where our old gravel pile was and things like that, and.
well, yeah, Mr. Woolbaum is, we've talked a few times,
Okay.
like, you know, that, where that old gravel pile was put up there, it was pretty soft there, so we had to leave a lot of gravel just to get in there, so when we get done, we're just gonna reclaim that gravel, like, we're not gonna leave it there, we're gonna push it up in a pile, and then they're gonna start reclaiming it. They're actually gonna, I believe Fisher's is gonna reclaim some this year from previous, like, they had some wash pits up there. that
Yeah,
they're
it kinda
gonna-
looked like, well, I was up there last week and they were filling stuff in and starting to reclaim some, and then I talked to Ken, and then he said he'd been in contact with you and stuff, and I just said, well, just stay in contact with Skylar as the need to reclaim comes, or, you know, if he wants us to start cleaning up our pile a little bit, and just make sure that we're,
Yep,
you know, taking care of it and stuff, so. I
yeah,
mean, he was very happy with how everything's been going, but just wanna keep it that way.
absolutely, yep.
Do you ever find out who's responsible for reclaiming Hummel's pit down there?
No, not yet, cause we still have gravel there.
Is that, are you getting that out yet this year or not yet? Or,
Thought about it, I might just, if the weather turns a little where we can't haul with the belly dumps, we might just truck it into the yard. Cause we always need gravel here in Linton, you know, when, sometimes it's easier to grab a load from Linton to go somewhere close, so.
okay,
If we get it done, then we'll,
okay, but you don't know who's responsible for that, do you?
no, I don't even, I'll talk to Marlis and we'll see if there's a contract on it, or,
Yeah, there should be a lease and stuff, lease agreement on there, so I'm sure it'll, should spell it out who's responsible for it. so.
yeah, I don't even, does anybody, well, I mean, I guess the contract will probably say who crushed it. Cause that's pile's been there for
Yeah, quite a few years.
quite a few years, right?
Yeah, it was either Fisher's or, Knife River, I think, one of those two, Fisher and Knife River. one of those.
Pile was here before my time, so.
How about out in 8th Avenue, that kinda settled down out there?
Yeah, we've hauled some gravel on it, you know, and some, like the hill going into the state line, or up from the state line, I guess, we put some gravel on that, and then spot gravelled a few spots that it was a little sandy, but most of it's sticking together pretty good and stuff like that, so.
Then, 68th there southwest of Hazelton. I know you guys have done some graveling on there this spring out by like the Sayers and all them, like, I guess from that weird
Y,
shaped
yeah.
Y, from there to 1804 and then there to the north is still, after we had that last, I mean, they had 3/4 of an inch of rain and some snow with it, but it was a lot worse than the stuff we're going towards the highway. So, I mean, if you are out in that area or you're coming by or something works out, maybe just check it out and see if it can use a few more loads of gravel if you're kinda hauling around that.
Yeah, we were actually gonna gravel it, and then, can't remember what happened, but then we were gonna gravel it that day, something happened, so then we moved out, and then I needed a loader somewhere else, and then, so, we just didn't get to it yet, it's still on our list to get hit, so.
Well, maybe even bringing some from Cattail up on 1804 might actually be,
Yeah,
that's probably your closest pit almost from that.
yeah,
area.
that's what, so now that it's out there, we got a few spots we definitely need to hit out in the southwest part.
I think
and then-
before you pull out of Cattail, you might, and that's actually probably better for that area anyway, cause that area is pretty heavy soil, so actually mixing some finer gravel with it might be a better,
Yeah,
might be a better blend, so.
that's
I'll just kinda keep that on your list too, since you're hauling out of that cattail pit.
what we're gonna do,
Okay.
so.
Other than that, I think that's it. Oh, one other thing. It is right on the south side of what would be between Randy Weigel and Stephen Weigel's place. So it'd be 65th Street. And so they had come in here before and talked to us about it, that road. So what happens with that road, I was just out there this weekend,
Is that also 19th?
19th.
Yeah.
So like 19th Avenue, that ain't my phone, somebody else's. The south, probably half mile of 19th Avenue, and then it turns and goes into 65th Street. That intersection, there's a culvert, cause there's a low area going through there. That low area was something that Francis was, well, Nick had been consulted about it, and then Francis, and then now it still never really got done. What happens is the culvert is undersized. So anytime they get any kind of substantial moisture, whether it's snow melt or decent rain, it wants to overtop the road.
So it's on the, oh, it's.
It's
supposed
right, so that,
that
yeah, 'cause
waterway?
that, yep, that waterway going through, that part from there to the intersection south, and then going to the west, probably 700 feet. That,
That's all those trees there too, right?
well, right, and
Yeah,
that was, we were gonna get on it, and then I don't know what happened, that Francis pulled off of it, because they had even moved the fence and got everything cleaned up, and Gar was working with them, and Francis, and then I'm assuming some road failed somewhere, and they kind of punted on it, and went, but, you know, Stevens' place is to the west there, and, I mean, that's gonna be a school bus route pretty soon here too, on top of everything, but, his wife actually drove through that one year. The water came up overnight, and she came in the dark to go to work, and she ran her vehicle in there, lost an engine on it. That was about 3 years ago when they came in. And it's been dry, so it hasn't been a huge issue, but Steven said the water even overtopped it this spring again, just because there's only like an 18-inch culvert or something like that. So the idea was that we were gonna increase the culvert sizes and then probably build it up 2 or 3 feet, just to, because there is kind of a dip there, and kind of level it out. And then another request by a couple people in that area is if we're gonna work in that area, we should basically, because apparently the county a while ago, either Alex Schauner or Nick, when they were running the show, built like the north half of that 19th Avenue up towards Highway 34. They like built it out of rock, and they really did a nice job. And then once they got about halfway through, they quit, and you could really notice the difference. And so they were wondering about if we could beef that road up a little bit more too, since we're gonna be working right in that area. So it'd be about a half mile of 19th, and then that short piece of 65th. I mean, it doesn't have to be this year, obviously, but what I'm saying is that should be something that, at least that culvert and that piece on 65th for sure, and then probably assess 19th and see if, you know, geogrid, fabric, crushed concrete, something.
So the culvert's on 65th.
The culvert is going north and south on 65th, yes. Right on the west side of that intersection. You can see that little spot, or that coulee there, or whatever you wanna call it, I guess, when they get a decent, if they get 1.5 inches of rain or something, the water will just come right up over the road every time, because the culvert's too small. I said, the culvert runs full bore, but it's way too small. So, that for sure should get just put on the list for right upsizing that culvert and probably building up 2 feet of that short stretch. It's only a couple hundred feet. And then maybe assess the situation with 19th there, just because it sounds like as soon as you get where they quit within rocks, the road just gets soft. Like you can hardly make it with a 4-wheel drive pickup in the spring. But he said where that stuff is they built, he goes, that's hard as a rock. They can drive on it all day long. So it's just something to kind of put on your forecasted schedule. When you get out that way or something, check it out at least and see if there's, cause I know there's plenty of rock in that area. I mean, they were stealing the rock pile, not stealing, but the guys were giving them the rock piles in that area to build it up, and that's what they use it out of.
They built it up with rock in the road?
Basically, and then capped it with clay and gravel is what I was told. but that was also 20-some years ago when they did it, so they basically would go out there and they just would do a stretch of it.
So we're probably 5 years away from having baseball-sized rocks on top.
Probably, but at the same time, they're very satisfied with it, because they can drive on it basically any time of year, they're pretty happy with it, but.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's different things we can use now, there's different
Right, I mean,
geotextile fabrics that
Yeah.
will bridge that stuff, cause I don't like putting rocks in the road like that, because then you end up with an 84th Avenue in a few years. That
Right.
really ain't going back to either put more gravel on top to cover them, or pluck them back out.
well, that's where we like that crushed concrete, geogrid, or whatever
Yeah.
you think is a good alternative, but that's something that got brought up when I was out there. And, the 65th part especially though, because they're concerned that every time you get a nasty spring, then that road is just unusable. So,
Yeah, and we can see, we might have time to at least get the culvert upsized this year yet, if that's.
I mean, yeah, if you
That would
do,
help a
great,
lot.
that would be
Yeah.
big, because they're concerned about this spring. I mean, if you get a bunch of snow, they lose that road for 2 weeks, and then, and Gar knows about it, and you can talk to him too, because he was out there before with Francis and with Nick. I mean, it's kind of been an ongoing problem that, once it dries up, it kind of gets forgotten, and,
Yep.
except by them. I mean, they're not very happy it's not done, but.
Yeah, we can look into it. I'm not
Okay,
gonna,
yeah.
like, if they watch the video, I'm not gonna guarantee we're gonna get out this year, but I can,
Right,
we
but-
can sure try to get at least the culvert put in this
Their
year.
main concern is we told them we put it on the list, and it seems like that list never comes to fruition. I don't blame them for being upset, because we always seem to, you run into a 21st or some of these other things, and, but we should, so yeah, especially check that culvert though, 'cause it sounds like it's pretty small.
Okay, will do.
Okay. Now I think I'm done.
All right, done? Okay.
Bus routes.
Bus routes,
So is that updated bus routes, Josh?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Skylar.
Hey,
Well, Denise is on at 11, so we could go to the miscellaneous stuff.
so you got approval of permits there?
Oh, yeah, the utility permits.
Yeah, you got
I think Joe's got them at the end there.
We can-
They got passed down. So we have 2 utility permits by Chem Electric here, looks like, jacketed cable. Skylar said they all look good, I guess it doesn't state if, oh yeah, here. Chem will bore the right of way of 65th Street Southwest, north of South. And,
And 64th, there should be 2 of them.
right, where's the other one?
64,
Dave, you got the other one?
There should be 2 of them.
Or? Two, yeah, Dave's got it. Okay, so the other one here is 64, but yeah, boring right away, so.
Yep.
And motion to approve table or deny.
I'll make a
Two.
motion to approve.
Approve both, so. Commissioner Hall makes the motion to approve both utility permits. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Colbert, is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor of the permits say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Utility permits approved. Josh, you got plats or building permits or anything like that?
No building permits.
No building permits.
Classes, 3 of them.
Let me ask the chairman here real quick, okay? Somebody was trying to get a hold of the tax collector for a moving permit and a building permit for, is this for a mobile home? Oh, a building they want to set on the fraction. And they're wanting to take care of it, I don't have any information on it.
After this year.
So it's for the first round, for the building now?
We're gonna check into it for a minute here, okay?
If they can get us some information or email
Yeah,
it
we
quick,
gotta have
yeah, I mean,
something.
we're here, we'll entertain it, yeah.
We're gonna have something here.
Yeah. Well, who'd have thought we'd be running out of time?
Just hang on.
Usually we're here till 6.
Okay.
Okay. So So we have a plat for section 7, township 135, range 76 in Emmons County. And Joe Shea. So the tract contains 59 acres, it looks like it's, must be a piece that's like the old railroad bed or something on the highway. Doesn't look like it.
Okay, thank you. Serious?
Yep. I don't know if you guys wanna check it out or anything. Must be some kind of land transfer or plat or 54 acres, so that must be.
Just so you know. Okay?
59. I think it's that. Doesn't say which tract for the. It says 59.44 acres, yeah, it must be that tract 7. Or, it's kind of confusing there. Either way, I guess it's a, tract contains 59 some acres, so it's not any kind of small parcel or anything like that.
See that?
She hasn't
She
seen it.
said she knows nothing about it.
I still have him on the phone, Aaron, can you would like to talk to the board?
Hello?
Josh, is this plat all good?
Yep, that's all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Red line is the pipeline.
Oh, okay.
You can see like shades, and it's shades in there. There's a lot of that pipelines going right on the road.
It's great.
So you need a moving permit?
Yeah, this one. First one. No, the first one, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe because we would have trouble with that, but the problem is we don't have any paperwork with it or nothing, or, I don't know. When are you gonna be moving? Okay.
Just let it see.
Okay, yeah, I think we can get that one.
Oh, that public view? Yeah, I kinda wanted to sit back there.
But it's all, I think, what we'll probably end up doing is we'll bring it before
That one anyway.
probably grant approval based on if you guys make sure you get all the qualifications and Denise's requirements and everything for her stuff. So you just have to work with her on that, if everything meets. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, I think we work something like that out. Okay, thanks. Yep, bye. So the Braddock Threshers are moving a building from Hazelton to Braddock. They need a moving permit, but that's based on through Denise and her stuff, some kind of affidavit or something, which we don't usually approve anyway, I don't believe, right, Marlos?
No, the moving permit you don't, just.
Right, and then the building permit, I mean, if it's on the threshing ground, we really haven't restricted anything there. And there's no setbacks, cause it's, considered agricultural, so there's really, mostly all of it's Denise's type stuff. So I guess my suggestion with that, unless somebody has any kind of issue with it, is we can probably grant approval with the condition that it meets all of Denise's rules, requirements, and the county ordinances and everything, but I mean, I don't think anybody's got a problem with it, do they, other than?
I don't think so. So just move that building.
And right, it seems like most of the issues with Denise and the fees,
Yeah.
the paperwork, and if
As
it
long
needs,
as, the thing is where they're setting it.
I mean, if it's on their property, it really doesn't matter.
So it's on his, okay.
It's on the
yeah.
threshing ground.
As long as
property,
he's
yeah.
far enough away from it.
Right, so I mean, I guess my suggestion, just so that, you know, because they wanna move it in like 3 weeks, well, we probably won't have another meeting in time. I don't see us denying it other than an issue with Denise, so I would say we just make it contingent that Denise gives final approval on her stuff. I don't have a problem with it, I guess, if we wanna go that route, if not,
No,
Yeah,
that's fine,
no,
that's fine.
Otherwise, you wait till next day and might not be able to get it moved.
well, that's the thing, they probably get their mover in then, and it's like, if we're not gonna deny it or have a problem with it anyway.
But you
Um,
guys don't do
So what I think we should do then is we should probably have a motion. We'll probably have a motion just granting the threshers giving them permission to move this building and set it on their property with the contingency that they meet all the requirements of the ordinances and the tax assessor.
That's fine.
Can we get that in the form of a motion?
I'll make that motion.
So Commissioner Everly makes the motion that the county commission approves the threshers to be able to move the building from Hazelton and set it on their property in Braddock with the contingency that they meet all the county zoning ordinances and fees and requirements by the tax assessor. Did you get all that, Marlis?
Yes,
Okay, so we have that by Commissioner Everly. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Colbert. Is there any more discussion? And I'll just notify Denise that basically she's the last draw on that one. When she gives approval, it's good to go. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Permission granted and permit approved. Whatever the proper way to say that. A little unorthodox, but I understand where they're coming from, so. Okay. So this is the plat submitted by Joe Shea. Josh, you didn't see any irregularities there? I mean,
No problems.
it's basically just a subdivision of
Yep, large tracks.
large tracts. A motion to approve, table, or deny the plat for Joe Shea on section 7, township 135, range 76.
Make a motion to approve it.
Commissioner Culver makes a motion we approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Weichel. Is there any more discussion on the irregular plat? Section 7, township 135, range 76. Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Plat approved. Okay, liquor license for the Lincoln Country Club. I don't have any paper.
Is that's for the whole year?
yes,
I'll make a motion to approve that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Holm to approve the liquor license for the Lincoln Country Club. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Everly. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Liquor license approved. Canvas board member, Marlis, what's that?
I need a commissioner to serve on the canvassing. It can't be Aaron, Bill, and Leonard, because they're on the ballot, so I just need you guys to appoint someone. It's gonna be held on the 21st of November at 9 o'clock a.m.
I guess I'll say, you know, I can do it if you don't want something.
Commissioner Holm volunteers for the canvassing board. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
That only takes a few minutes, right?
Well, I didn't want somebody to try
It just depends if we have objectives to decide.
Yeah.
You know what happens when you raise your hand, right? You get a job, so. Plat for lots D and E, the south half of the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter, section 6, township 132, range 76.
Oh, I thought that was 9 PM, it's 9 AM. I love that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I thought it was PM, and I looked at it, that's 9 AM. No, I can do it.
That's a Monday.
Yeah.
9 in the morning.
Yeah, I can.
It won't take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe half hour at the most.
Looks okay.
get where exactly this
So
is,
the
I know it's
church-
right north of
Is it a church or?
town here,
I guess I don't remember the name of that church.
Oh, it's on the west side of the,
Assembly of God.
Assembly of God Church, yeah.
oh, on the west side.
North side of Lincoln.
Oh, okay, I was trying to figure out where exactly that was.
Everything's fine.
So, the Assembly of God is just, they got it surveyed or something, or how did?
Yeah, I don't know if their plans are selling the west 2/3 there, so they're just splitting, making 1.39 acres around the church. And they're
Okay.
just creating another lot here instead of having one.
They're separating the church off that other lot?
Yep.
Okay.
But they haven't even, so what their intentions are yet, huh?
Well, the one lot's 2.4 acres and the other lot's 1.39, so as far as size wise, they're still in that range where something could be done, so. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Motion by Commissioner Holm to approve the plat. for Lots D and E, the southeast half of the southeast quarter of section 6, township 132, range 76. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner White. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Plat approved. Plat for Ron Dykeman.
Oh, sorry.
Must be a pretender.
Yeah, West Side Civic, he's not changing any law lines or splitting anything, it was just, he had it surveyed, and then basically came to the conclusion he should record it, because they may try and split it later on, so.
It's gotta be right where, is it close to where he lives?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
right
his
where
yard.
ours is.
Oh, that's where he,
It's on the
okay.
east side of his yard.
Yeah.
There's kind of that opening.
Yep.
It-
They're just labeling it track one.
Oh, so he's doing that part, oh, yeah.
Because eventually he may cut this off and get to the landowner, he said, so they got a survey to know where the corners are at,
Sure.
so. So he's not changing anything right now.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
So we have a motion to approve the plat for, survey plat for Ron Dykeman. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Culver. Any more discussion? So is the part, so it's the tract 1 and 2, right, on the west side of that's his property?
Yeah, this,
Right.
that first one is the highway, basically highway right away.
Yep,
They just put a separate track to it, but
sure.
then it comes to the, that one yard.
Because those tracks to the east there, those are actually subdivided lots, right?
Yeah, those are blocks that they own that, they're not legal, they just have a survey.
Right.
So, you know where they're at.
I'm just curious that Tenvick actually had like subdivided lots at
Yeah,
one
all
point,
these blue lines are
right?
all the original lots.
Even though it's unorganized, it was actually lotted out for,
Yeah.
huh, that's neat, okay. Is there any more discussion on the plat? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I believe that is the extent of the agenda, other than Denise, so.
Let's take these bills.
Want to call Denise?
Is she
I
on-
called, when I called her, she's on her way.
Oh, okay.
They're in the vehicle, she's coming from Bismarck.
Oh,
Yeah, so we can.
grab the bills.
I still didn't write down, Johnson, unless you're gonna make me walk.
I can take you right home too. if you
Well,
want.
I gotta find out what it is, maybe you can estimate it, but I need to,
Oh,
so.
It's for you, Jerry.
You got something for the board or no?
Oh, I'm gonna listen in on the tax director.
Oh,
They did remove some rocks, I seen that.
I was gonna ask him too, I forgot.
Yeah.
When I was, whatever came about that.
Yeah. But I'm just curious what that town's rental was.
Yeah. How long was it there?
3 weeks, I suppose. It's up or down though, man. Now it's drying down, you know. It's not much.
Hello. Hello. Okay, I'm ready. Shortly. We're gonna do the bills yet. And then we have to go, then we're done. So you better. Yes. Okay.
It is.
1387 for HR, is that for, how long is that?
She has her, it's itemized in there.
Oh. Oh, okay, it breaks everything down. Ah.
Are you done? You're done, good for you.
Rubber band, or you
What?
just gonna keep
Just
it?
had the other day.
Order box in. Just throw it back, she'll take care of it.
Dan didn't believe you, we were done already? No, I don't think she did.
Prisoner board.
Did you see on TV the other night, there's a guy from Hamilton? We took him up on the bus every day.
Yeah.
I picked up for,
Still getting recorded.
for, Weston or whatever.
It'll be recorded though.
We're still getting recorded.
That's what I asked.
Yeah. Yeah.
About 5 minutes.
I know Scott was supposed to sign off on these.
They haven't turned in their bill set, so he probably hasn't yet. When Jordan bought them, she said, but
Yeah, he
So-
doesn't have time.
he hasn't had time yet, because he hasn't sent it out his bill.
Yeah, 'cause he quotes
Yep,
that out.
yes, that's what she told me when I picked them up.
With the time sheets there,
Yeah.
that's got everything.
Skylar hasn't
Yeah.
had a chance to
He
sign
hasn't had
off
a
on
chance yet.
everything, he's gonna do it.
He hasn't got all the bills turned in yet either.
But John signed off there.
Yeah.